Hello everyone, Mr. E here, and today is time for perhaps some of you's favorite type of video, the ones where I just have a casual chat with you. I imagine this one will probably go 15-20 minutes or so, and we're going to talk about the new update, which, for the life of me, I cannot remember off the top of my head right now. It's really like not a memorable title, whatever it is. It's like whispers and something, but like compared to Unlocked and Loaded, which I can just recall like that, this is not a memorable title, but that's okay because we're not here to judge the update by its title. We're here to judge it by its content, and I am actually quite pleased with the content. To give you a little bit of taste of what's to come in this video, we're going to talk about 2 out of 3 of the big parts of this update. The 3 big parts are the new game mode, the updates to Havoc, and the updates to Ogrren. And I have not played the new game mode yet. It looks like a lot of fun. It does look a little bit easy, and I definitely will get around to it at some point, but I have just been so wrapped up in all of the new Ogrren builds and build theorizing and Havoc and beating the new challenges that Havoc pose. And you know what? While I'm having fun with it, let me just keep having fun with it. I'll get to that roguelike mode whenever I do, and that's just more content, right? So I can only theoretically increase the rating of my rating of this update by the virtue of it's even more content to play it in one of my favorite games. Okay, so what's this video going to be about? Well, it's kind of a companion piece to a forum post that I want to make. I'm going to be making forum posts for videos like this where I want to kind of use it as an open letter to Fat Shark from here on out, because I have an inkling that they might actually be listening to the community or elements of the community. And you know, if one man can sacrifice himself, can martyr himself to save all of Ogrren, imagine how much all of us could do if we all sacrificed ourselves. You know, that sounds like a great idea, actually. If you are on board with that, like and subscribe, and I'm actually going to mix up some Kool-Aid. Well, I'll have some Kool-Aid together. It sounds pretty cool, right? Join the cult. No, but really, there's some inklings, or there's some indications that they are listening and changing their tune and steering their development because of community direction, and I think that's really, really good. If you like what I have to say and want to agree with me, you can do that in the comments. If you want to disagree with me and give me a different perspective from what I'm saying in this video, put that down in the comments as well. I'm really just trying to get a feel for where my community and the community in general is at. I want to first start by talking about Havoc today, since we're talking about Havoc and Ogrren, not the game mode, which I haven't played. So Havoc is way better than where it was, on release, which thank God, right? I know that it was a sort of rush job when they first got it out. I admire the effort, but this new version of Havoc is where Havoc should have been on release. I didn't have very high hopes for it. I thought they were going to keep it very modest with the changes. In fact, all of their teases for what the changes were very modest, right? They didn't include the fact that there's new maps. They didn't include much detail about the new challenges that were coming, and I think some of that's cooler. They kept it as a surprise, although, you know, now I feel bad that I kind of dogged on them a little bit about a lack of content in this Havoc when it is a completely different Havoc game now. First of all, I want to address the changes to the enemies, the distribution of enemies. There is way more melee enemies than ranged enemies now, and that's just so much better for the way that the game works, because fighting ranged enemies is genuinely really not that interesting. I mean, think about like punching a Reaper to death. What's it do? It stands there and it might try to punch you, right? But other enemies, melee enemies, actually will fight back. You need to be careful around them. And then, of course, ranged enemies are just more annoying most of the map. A complaint I do have about this distribution is that I still feel like there is a problem with the way that seeds are generated for Havoc maps. If you've been watching my streams or played it yourself, you can very, very clearly see that when you first get to the enemies in a map, you can right away tell which enemy seed has been chosen by the AI director, and prepare to spend at least half of the map through slogging through more of that. So on the light end of the spectrum, the free win category is if the game is like, yeah, every enemy is shotgunners. And this has happened to me a number of times, and it's literally just like walk through the level, free win, yay, GG. Because shotgunners aren't challenging, really. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we've got everything is Reapers and machine gunners. And that's just hell. Like, that is just pure hell. It's not fun for anybody. It's super slow going, and they're just like, you'll just get held down around a corner while they're just shooting at the corner for an hour. That is really sucky. And what I'd like to see is if they would do a revisit, a retweak on some of these distributions. I don't think that it needs to be one or the other, right? I think there needs to be some middle ground where like it's a mixture of those things. Having it be all shotgunners for like the whole map as the primary enemy that you're fighting is really boring and not that challenging. And it's way too challenging to have things like, all Reapers, all Gunners be your seed as well. Somewhere in the middle, though, is the all Metal, where it's just like all Crushers and Maulers, and I don't really have a problem with that one. That's an existing recipe that exists within Maelstrom, right? The Civi missions have that, where it's like low ammo and all Scab, Maulers, and shit. That's pretty good. And there's a reason there's not that, but all Reapers, right? Because that sucks. So I'd like to see those brought in line. I'd also like to see the removal of certain conditions. Personally, I don't think that Blackout, or Lights Out as you call it, belongs in Havoc. I think it's for me personally, I have some like headache issues that are induced by whatever the hell the FOV is lowered to on Lights Out. I just generally don't find those dark missions like that all that fun. It's better on some maps than it is on others. And then I'm okay with the fog one, the fogs and the snipers. That's fine, but then we definitely need to get rid of Pox Gas. I don't understand how Pox Gas as an additional modifier on maps has survived through the update, where it's like you'll just get a random map. It's not like it's even your capstone, like, oh, when you beat 40 it's gonna have Pox Gas on it or whatever. You'll just be on like random 38, 32, and your map says you have to play with Pox Gas on it, and you're like, well, I'm not winning this mission, because Pox Gas, no joke, makes the mission like 50% harder, especially with New Havoc, where there's so many bosses on you all the time and there's so many hordes that you oftentimes do have to like hold up in a impromptu location, and now you're going to spend 50% of the time cooking in swamp gas, and that just isn't fun. It makes the game tortuous and slow because you have to wait for them to turn off. And yeah, Pox Gas has no business being in Havoc. It makes the game way, way, way harder than your normal key. And so most people, if you get that, you're like, well, I'm just going to re-roll this, or I'll just play with a friend who doesn't have this, and you'll move past it, right? So yeah, please remove that. Okay, but that being said, let's get on to some more positive stuff. The modifiers in this are way more interesting, and especially like the summoning modifier, I like that a lot. I think it is a very cool modifier that makes you have to make some interesting choices about when you want to make your move and get in there and deal with it. And it gives Ogrren a really powerful role with taunting and moving enemies away from this threatening boss summon thing. I think it's a really cool mechanic. It does have some bugs, however, very obvious bugs. There is a problem with the summoning speed where it can get triggered as if you are right next to the circle. And if you don't know how it works, if you stand closer to the circle or aggravate the guys who are doing the summoning, it will speed up. And there are a couple locations that I've encountered so far. One is on Vigil Station Oblivion, and the other one is on the power station. And they're both like near places where there's like a bridge. The one's on the top of a spiral that goes across a bridge by a health station. The other one's in this like factory room right before you drop down that really big factory area. There's this area with a kind of a bridge between two zones that has like some mesh on both sides and some fiery machinery and stuff. That both of them can spawn one of these demon hosts summoning things on the far side of the circle, and it will trigger as if you're standing right next to it. So when you walk up on it, it pops up on the top of your screen, a little growing health bar, and it just starts filling. And so you have about 20 seconds before you guaranteed are getting a demon host spawned on you, and it's just not fair. Obviously, because that's not how it's supposed to work. But yeah, it's a very obvious bug, and I hope they get that taken care of. Let's talk about mini bosses and bosses in general, because one thing that was very important that they did add to Havoc is now there are monstrous mini bosses that spawn. Miniature, well, not miniature. Well, actually, there are miniature enemies, and I have no idea what this is about, but it's crazy. You'll just be playing a random ass map, and you'll realize that, hey, this captain I'm fighting is like shorter than the regular, like, characters. Like, sometimes there's just like tiny enemies, like tiny flamers that are shorter than the trash enemies that you're fighting. I don't know what it is. It's really cute and it's really funny, but I have no idea what triggers it. I feel like there's a lot of like little secret things like that maybe I should be expecting and looking out for in Havoc, but I love little things like that. So kudos to whoever decided that there needs to be like mini dwarf enemies randomly. But yeah, that you get lesser bosses, so like weakened versions. If you've never played 3 Vegs or 1, 2, these are Maelstrom modifiers, and I was very surprised not to see these Maelstrom modifiers added to Havoc when it first came out, but having them added now is, good enough, right? Getting all those bosses means that, one, they add so much chaos and therefore fun to the mode. It's like, ah, shit, here comes the boss. But 2, they open up a new role for the team, which is just boss murderizer. Thunderhammer Zealot, Recon Lasgun with focus target veteran that can just burn away bosses. It's really important to be able to get rid of bosses because there's so many now. And speaking of bosses, we've also got way more captains than we did before, and we can get the twins who spawn in. Now, the twins are a little bit overpowered, I think. Specifically, I have a problem with how much knockback the sword twin has. I'm the fucking Ogrren, and I can't, even with my shield planted, stand my ground against this little tiny lady who's just like shoving me bodily around the arena. Then at the same time, I do have a small problem with the gas bombs, the pox bombs that the ranged brother drops. Those things just seem like they do way too much damage. And maybe it's just me, but like, damn, like maybe those need to be tuned down, especially considering he's just hurling them out. Like, he chucks so many of those things, and then you've got this lady who's like shoving you into them because you can't get her to not shove you. Yeah, I think the twins could be tuned down a little bit. Captains, on the other hand, I'm perfectly fine with, except we do have still an ongoing bug with the captain who has the one-handed sword. He will occasionally trigger this flurry of blows where he just like whips his sword around him, but much of the time, like 50% of the time, he won't actually animate it. He'll just be acting like he's staring at you, and he'll be walking towards you very slowly but menacingly, and then you'll get hit 4 times by a missing animation and you'll die, even though his sword is just, normally standing down by his side. So there's something going on there, and that bug has been going on for at least 6 months, so I'd love to see that taken out of the game, because it makes those guys way more deadly. If you're not paying attention at all and you just see him, like, you might be forgiven in thinking he's like staggered or held in place by chorus or something. No, he's actually channeling a move that will kill you in 3 hits. So yeah, I'd like to see that go. And in general, to sum up this Havoc part, we are seeing much greater build variety for a couple of reasons. One, there's additional threats in here that need to be dealt with. The same old builds don't address all of these threats equally. Specifically, boss damage is now prioritized a lot more, but we're also seeing greater build variety because of that shift away from packing all these enemies out, or these maps out with tons and tons of ranged enemies, and because of nerfs to the Emperor's Fading Light. And I couldn't help but notice that in the post where they talk about the nerfs to Emperor's Fading Light, which specifically is that the ranged enemies no longer benefit from the attack speed. So like regular gunners don't shoot in 18-round bursts anymore, they shoot in 3-round bursts like they did before. They did mention the concern for build variety, which was something that I championed very hard, and that was what I posted on the Fat Shark forums. That's what I made my video about, saying that, like, as long as Emperor's Fading Light is the limiting factor, because you can get absolutely dunked by a single ranged enemy, you're going to have the same builds again and again. It's going to kill a build right in the game, and they specifically address that. And I can't say for certain whether or not my finger was tipping the scale there, but I like to think that I was. In the same way that I'm definitely convinced that Tanner saved Ogrren, I'm definitely convinced that I might have gotten Emperor's Fading Light nerfed, which I would be very happy with. But in general, the changes to Emperor's Fading Light has made it more viable to bring multiple different types of classes in there, because you're not as necessitated to have gold toughness all the time to protect your precious little buns. And I think that what we need to see is, I understand that they need to hurt players and kill players and actually pose a challenge. And I think moving away from oh yeah, you just got half your health taken by a gunner you didn't see method of challenging players to hey, here's 55 crushers and 8 bosses, good luck method of challenge. That's way better, because I have been killed, probably like 4 dozen times at this point in the 3 days that I've played. Oh, by the way, I'm recording this on the 4th day. I haven't even played yet today. You guys are so important to me that the first thing I did when I sat down and got out my computer is I wanted to record a video and talk to you, rather than play the game. So this is my priority. You're welcome. I'll be streaming in a second. But the fact that I have only died a handful of times, like a single-digit number of times, to just being obliterated by a gunner that I couldn't get him to stop shooting me, is an improvement. I would much, much, much rather be smashed like a pulpy paste between 2 massive walls of enemies that encroach me on all... Oh, sorry, hit the mic. That encroach me on all sides than I would be plinked down by a single gunner that is annoying the shit out of me. So keep it up in that direction. I love being overwhelmed and just, crush me with the rock, right? That is what I'm here for. I am not here to get shot by a wall of machine gunners that will not stop firing. So, in summary, really good improvements to Havoc. I'm having a lot of fun with it. If you have not tried it, it's crazy, it's fun. Go out and play it. Before I do move on from Havoc, actually I just realized I have one more thing I want to say. I'm not a big fan of the ranking system. I don't want to make a big deal about it because I know Reginald has already done several videos on it. I know I'm not going to be the only person who has this complaint. It remains to be seen if they make any changes to it, but I just don't think that the ranking system is tenable in its current state. I'm seeing players who have high ranks, myself included. I want to play Havoc with my friends who are in lower Havocs, but I literally can't risk it, right? I want to get to 40. I want to have a high rank. But if I have a player who's playing on 25 and I just want to join in and have a fun old time, I can't do that, because if he loses, then I lose attempts. Tying, I don't get any benefit. I don't rank up or get resources or whatever for completing his game. So why do I get penalized when I'm playing in a lower ranked game? I think that's unfair, and I would like to see that changed. And I think the easiest way to fix that, one of the best ways you could fix that, Fat Shark is listening, is make it so that when you reach rank 40, you are locked in at 40. You can always queue up a rank 40 game. Now, you can play with anyone else you want to, but you will always have 40 available to you to play. Because remember, being locked at 40 doesn't offer you any benefits. Now you can't boost people to 40. You can boost them by +3, +3, +3. But if you want to do that, these people have to be completing, if they want to be boosted from level 1, they have to complete a rank 40 13 times, right? So it's okay if 40s get locked at 40 because they can't boost people directly to 40 like they could before. So that's what I really like to see, is just have getting to the pinnacle of 40, make it so that you're immune to the system, and that'll make it so players who like to, play with random groups like myself and Reginald and others who like to grab members of our community and play with them, we won't be pressured to play meta builds so that we can actually win. Because right now, it's if you lose games, you're going to lose rank, and then you're not going to have your 40 anymore. You might drop all the way down to 35, and then you'll have to slog all the way back up. I just don't think it's tenable. Okay, moving on from Havoc. Let's go on to Ogrren. Ogrren is a big, big success. Good job, Fat Shark. Thank you, Tanner, for your sacrifice, specifically in terms of changing taunt. I think the changes to taunt were chef's kiss. I love the way new taunt plays. It opens him up to making so many more vital plays, and it's just an awesome ability. I think it might be one of the best abilities in the game right now. We've also got that big buff to his charge where he's invulnerable to like range attacks and stuff while he's charging. That is awesome. It should have always been in the game, but it's awesome that it's in here now. And then, of course, the rest of the talent tree, which is so much more well thought out. I think Ogrren is setting the gold standard for a balanced, fair talent tree. He has a lot of build variety, and now all of his weapons are roughly on the same footing as each other. Roughly, I say, not perfect, but definitely better than we have with the human classes. And he is very considerably more powerful than he was before. I think he's on a good power level. You could totally do all of the hardest content in the game with Ogrren. Him compared to other classes, he is still the weakest class probably, but only because of those outlier things. So Psychers with Venting Shriek and Flame Staff, that's broken, right? Flame Staff is just broken in general because of how much dot and damage it can apply to everything in the world. And Shout Veteran with Plasma Gun is obviously problematic because Plasma Gun does too much damage and Shout is on too short a cooldown and gold toughness and all that. Chorus Zealots, with and Shroud Field, and Charge, and Dueling Sword, like all of those things, the outliers are the only thing that Ogrren can't keep up with. Those things that make those classes that good are all the outliers. So if you took those away from them or brought them down a little bit, then we might have a very nice level playing field. And that's what I really hope for this year, is that we see some of those low performing weapons and things that just have no place in the upper tiers of play brought up a good amount, and then the things that are just way overused, that are clearly crutches like Shout, sorry guys, need to be brought down a little bit. And maybe then we could wean off of Emperor's Fading Light all the way, because we wouldn't have like the assumption that everyone is going to be playing with these safety bubbles around them of like Chorus and Shout like 95% of the time, right? That's my thoughts, is that those things need to be brought a little bit more in line. I think Ogrren is a great paragon of a nice, balanced, powerful character. And if that's what the Zealot rework ends up looking like, I'll be very happy. Because I do think the Zealot is in line for having a tree relook at, because his tree is super boring and uninteresting right now. Anyway, guys, I think that's all I have to say. A little bit over 20 minutes, but hey, that's extra content for you. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Fat Shark, for your work on this update. I will be giving my review on the roguelike mode in a few days' time whenever I get to it. But yes, good update so far. Keep fixing bugs, and y'all out there keep playing, and I'm going to go play some right now. All right, have fun, everyone. I love ya. Bye. Mystery out.